call.
I'll
I
do-
also need to announce that this meeting will be audio and video recorded and actually press record. Wait, record on this computer. Wait, where is it?
Oh, you know what? Let me do that.
Okay, for some reason, it's not where I thought it would be.
Record.
Okay. So this meeting is being audio and video recorded.
Recording in progress.
There you go. Thank you. And let's see. Do you want to take the roll call, Councillor Nash, or you would like me? Are you going to?
I'll pretend to be Laura here.
Okay, because I could put a hat on. Okay, let's roll call to start our meeting then.
Councillor Maori.
Here.
Councillor Labarge. She called and said she would be late. Councillor Moulton.
Here.
And Councillor Nash. I am here. 3 of the 4 of us are here, Chairperson.
So that is actually a quorum.
We have a quorum.
So we have a quorum, so we can proceed. Okay, thank you. Let's see. We do not have the minutes from the previous meeting, I believe. Is that correct? I did not receive them.
And I don't see them.
Right.
Yeah, I believe that that she was endeavoring to get them to us, but it didn't happen. So we will not vote on approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. And then we just have this, the next agenda item would be the scope and responsibilities of the Finance Committee. We finally get to talk about it. Quite engaging. I don't see any members of the public for any kind of public comment. I should have said that, but I don't. Does anyone see anyone? No.
You're
okay. Good. I was just checking mainly for maybe some other counselors who might show up. Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about this. I'm wondering if Councillor Moulton would like to kind of paint a little picture for us, because it was your brainchild, and then we can just have a discussion.
I am happy to try to paint a more complete picture than what I outlined on January 12th when I was 10 days into my council tenure. Now that I've experienced 3 months, I think I can speak with a little more specificity about some of the things that are possibilities for the Finance Committee to take on. And I think really we have a wide net to cast, because anything that involves taxpayer dollars, I feel that we can make a case for. I do want to.
Councilor Moulton, I'm so sorry. Just pause for 1 second. The house is not on fire, so you may continue, Councilor Moulton.
Thank you. Let me say first, I think we've already had an impact by having standalone meetings of the Finance Committee, because I think that we've opened up an avenue for greater opportunities for public comment. I think we saw that both in February and March with the topics of the police dash cams and the animal control facility, when people had a chance to address those particular topics, which were of great interest to a certain number of people in the community. And I think my observation of this committee and the other subcommittees and transportation and parking is that in that smaller setting, there's more room for informal conversation rather than just public comment. So I think we've already had a positive impact by pulling Finance Committee meetings out of the full council. And I think we've got we also have flexible enough, so we've got the opportunity when it makes sense to have a Finance Committee within the full council, as we're going to do on April 14th. I prefer to have standalone meetings as much as possible, but I think that flexibility is good. So in terms of specifics, when we had the joint meeting with the school committee and the mayor outlined the budget process, the big takeaway for me was that the mayor said that she's going to support 4% increases for the school budget in Northampton, which is something that I think makes a lot of sense. I certainly am supportive of that. I think as we emerge from the pandemic, it's critical that we make up deficits that affected students during the 2 years of the pandemic, and particularly because it was disproportionately borne by disadvantaged students, students of color, students of lower incomes. And so I think that's critically important. So I think that, I mean, one of the things that the Finance Committee can do each year is to come up with, working with the entire City Council, to come up with our own budget priority or priorities. Obviously, we're not going to construct our own budget, but we could, I think we could reach a consensus on what is the council really set as priorities for the next year's budget. And if you were to ask me, in addition to education, it would be the Department of Community Care. And I don't have a figure, and I don't think any of us have a figure at which that should be budgeted. What I care about is that it be sufficiently staffed to operate 24/7, and to have sufficient, the kind of staff, the quality of staff that's going to set it up for success. And by that, I mean, we're going to need well-trained staff earning a good, decent wage. So I don't know what it's going to cost, but that's the kind of parameters that I would say, as a single counselor, that I would like to see in next year's budget. So, I mean, I think one of the things that we can think about is what's the process for doing that each year. And ideally it would start right after that, right after that joint meeting that the mayor holds with the city council and the school committee, so that by in future years, if we decide to do this, by early March, we deliver a statement to the mayor saying, here are the council's priorities that we would appreciate it if you would consider these as you're constructing the budget to submit to us by May. Now, I don't know that we have time to do that this year, but that's one idea. Beyond that, there were two things that came up in the last council meeting last week that I think we can consider taking on as the Finance Committee. One is the concern about Coca-Cola's departure from the city and what that's going to mean for the water and sewer rates in Northampton. And I think that that conversation, which the mayor acknowledges needs to happen over the course of the next year, should certainly involve the council. And I think the council's Finance Committee is a good place to ground that conversation for the councilors. So as plans are considered for how we're going to make up that loss of Coca-Cola revenue, we could have a role in that. And I think it's also important, as Tracy Culver pointed out, that we don't surprise people next year with a large increase. And I think that communication over the course of the decision making about how we're going to deal with the Coca-Cola departure is it may not eliminate the need for an increase, but I think it might be more palatable if we're involving community discussion along the way. And then finally, Councilor Labarge identified, as part of that discussion at the council meeting last week, identified that stormwater fees continue to be a concern in Northampton, the tiered system. And I think the Finance Committee would be a great place to have a public forum to talk about how has the stormwater fee system worked over the whatever period of time it's now been in place in Northampton. So those are just a few ideas that I've thought about in the course of the last 3 months that I think would be legitimate for us to take on, and would involve opportunities for the public to weigh in on things that are going to be affecting their pocketbook.
Thank you so much for that, Councilor Moulton. Councilor Nash, did you want to say anything or did you have? I didn't know if you had an update from.
My update is I'm helping Counselor Labarge get into the meeting.
Gotcha. Okay, so I will go. I usually like to have the other members go first, but I'll just. Oh. Well, so Councilor Moulton, I have to say that I was immediately impressed with this idea when you brought it up, especially so early in your term, because when I was on the Council Rules Committee, I really kind of struggled with the role of finance, and I kept actually going, should we just kind of give finance less? Should we just try, because so many councilors were involved. I was thinking, well, maybe we don't even need a dedicated committee. But what you're bringing is, the opposite in the sense of a real sense, of a dedicated purpose beyond vetting, which, oftentimes is simple financial orders, not always, as we've already found. But so it really struck a chord with me, and it kind of landed in my, with that, I felt better about having a standalone finance committee by adding this new scope. It seemed to make sense to me if we're going to have an independent, a standalone meetings, we actually get, we do something more than what we traditionally have been doing. So I'm very, I'm very energized by these ideas. I love what each idea you brought up. And I kind of like, municipal government, especially council, it's kind of reactive by its nature. And so it's interesting to think about being more proactive. And it also just provides a lot of transparency and opportunities for the public on a subject which is really the purse strings of the city, which is, quite, it strikes a chord with everyone. So I'm very grateful that you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that in terms of
I have a quick question.
Sorry.
I'm trying to get Councilor Labarge, and she's having issues. Did you guys get in from the agenda?
I got in from the agenda.
Yes, from the agenda in the agenda center. Yes.
I will look for her.
Marianne, my suggestion. All right.
You're the host though, Councilor Nash, so you might have, I'm not sure I'm a host enough to see, I'm not a host, so I can't see her if she's trying to get in. Well, while we're waiting, Councilor Moulton, I'm just curious, did you, have you seen models of this? It just came to you?
Have I seen?
Yeah, just this idea. I'm just curious. It's something you've been thinking about for a while, or did it just kind of come to you? I was just curious.
No, I mean, I'm not modeling this on anything other than reacting to what I know is the frustration of some councilors, not just on this council, but over previous councils as well, in terms of the sharing of power between the executive and the legislative branches. And I think that when you look at the charge of the Finance Committee, again, it's a broad charge. And I think that you're correct that what we're talking about here is being more proactive than just being reactive. And I think that it's dependent on having members of the Finance Committee who want to take that on in terms of having the sense that that's something important to do and also having the time to do it. And I think that in this case, the four of us certainly, I think, see it as a priority, and I think probably have the time, at least several of us at the time. Obviously, Councilor Nash is more, has more on his plate as being council president. But and then the other thing in practical terms of how this would work, it would work best in a collaborative relationship with the mayor, which at this point I feel we have. I mean, I obviously understand that in the past the relationship between the council and the mayor has been more adversarial with previous mayors and previous councils, but in a more collegial atmosphere, I think this will work well and should be welcomed, I would hope.
Right. like, I'm going to continue until I see Councilor Nash wanting to talk. But I was just going to say, I was just thinking about that too, Councilor Moulton. Say we do have, I think we have a collaborative relationship, but say there was an adversarial relationship. I mean, the good thing about issuing some sort of written report or about, is it gives some transparency to our constituents about where we stand. I think that's actually important. I mean, obviously, it's great if we could realize everything we want, but it's also important for them to understand our motives. So I think that works in that situation in that way. And when I first ran for council, I was very interested in participatory budgeting and met with the then Mayor Narkowitz. And the thing about that, there's great examples like in Cambridge, but they're very big budget cities where, so you're giving $5,000 to different resident groups to decide what to do. And so that's a lot for a smaller city to take on, but I think this is a good first step to see, I think it's kind of a similar idea. It's not handing money, but it is setting intention, and setting priorities. So.
Well, I think it's important for the reasons that you just said in terms of our relationship with our constituents, and not just for sort of political show, but yeah. to say to our city residents, our constituents, that we're not just waiting for the mayor to deliver a budget. We're considering what we as a body feel are significant priorities, delivering that message to her, and hoping that will help shape the budget. And I think it's important to get that out there. I mean, in terms of letting people know that this is what the council as a body would like to see.
Right. And I'll just make one more comment. Oh no, let me.
Yeah, I just want to say we're going to try. Councilor Labarge is having difficulties getting in, so I have her on speakerphone here.
Okay.
Councilor Labarge, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Can you guys hear Councilor Labarge?
Yes. Hello, okay. Councilor Labarge.
Hello. Hello. Labarge. Thank you so much. I know.
Again, Jim, on the meeting passcode, it won't let me in. It says it's incorrect.
Yeah,
well, we can hear you pretty clearly, and I know it's been a day, so I appreciate you really persevering and joining us. If you want to continue this way, I actually can hear you pretty well. If you can hear us,
you're gonna have to talk louder.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, well, I put my volume up.
Yeah.
As loud as I can make it.
And Liz just did put the meeting passcode in the chat, if that's helpful. I don't know, but for Councilor
Barge. She may not be able to see it.
That's right. Councilor Nash, would it be useful to tell her that the meeting passcode numbers that are in the chat? Or
so Councilor Labarge and she's been using the link from the agenda. And it's asking for the passcode, and when she puts the passcode in, it's saying she has the wrong passcode.
So
I know, I'm trying it again, and it's doing the same thing.
All right, Councilor Nash, the passcode on the agenda does not match the passcode in the chat. So can you relay the passcode in the chat to Councilor Labarge?
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go off. I'm turning my mic off.
4317.
Yeah, that's wrong.
That's wrong.
It's 747317. And now I'm wondering if that's an issue for us to continue to meet. Well, I'm going to continue until President Nash has a moment. But the one other point I wanted to make, Councilor Moulton, is I think it could be an advantage for the mayor, because if I were mayor, I would like, I'd like to have a heads up about how council was thinking, even if we're different, because, you know, to put, the mayor put so much work into the budget. It's a very intense time, and, you know, when it's, I've always felt like when we see it that late in the game, it's tough, when there's a discrepancy in
Yep.
in priority. So I think that's another advantage for the mayor.
I would hope the mayor would see it as an advantage, yes.
Yeah. But I do want to just check in with President Nash about the link and whether if that means something for this meeting continuing or not.
Yeah,
My
well,
link
that's a
worked.
good point. If the posted agenda has the wrong link and passcode,
Well, the link worked. I mean, I got on with the link, but I didn't use the passcode. I guess I must not have used the passcode.
No, it didn't ask for a passcode.
Yeah, so.
and when
that's why-
Mary Ann's clicking on it, it's asking for a passcode.
That is very strange. I wish we had I wonder if we have a outside party that could try to link in and tell us if it works, because if an outside party can join us, then I would think it would be okay to continue. It might just be a particular issue for Councilor Labarge, but I don't know.
Do either of you have another computer at home? Yeah.
Well, actually, my phone, right? We could use our
Or maybe Liz could do it. Liz,
or my phone.
in fact, Nam has both. Nam is here on in two different ways.
Yeah, the link worked for me, but I think the passcode is wrong.
How,
Okay.
Right.
And
How
that
do you-
was the passcode on the agenda?
Yeah, the passcode on the agenda.
who sets the passcode? How do you know which one is wrong, Liz?
Zoom does it automatically. So the one
Okay.
on, I just looked at the agenda. The one on the agenda is
Hmm.
474 and the correct one starts 747. So it was
Right.
just, I don't know how that would have happened. Maybe just a typo, maybe
Yeah.
a change.
Yeah.
And do you know the meeting number as well? Can you put that in the chat?
Yeah, let me.
But it's an interesting idea what constitutes, you know, because the link works. I mean, so the public meeting link works. I guess, I don't know what case you need to use the passcode, maybe on the phone?
Okay, I put the meeting code in the chat.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's that's generated by Zoom, Liz.
Okay, I'm wondering, does anyone think it's prudent to call the solicitor, or, I mean, because I think.
No, I think that because tonight we're having a discussion, we're not going to have any votes on recommendations that I'm comfortable continuing.
Yeah. It's interesting that in our 2+ years remote, this hasn't really come up, that the link works. Well, we can just, we'll continue our discussion, and then we'll see what President Nash is. I've been really looking forward to this discussion.
All right, we are going to try the phone again,
Okay.
and we'll see if this works. Yeah, we still aren't able to get in, so.
So, yeah, and President Nash, are you feeling like because the public meeting link, it works, that the
I
meeting?
don't understand it. This is the first time a passcode wouldn't go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not understanding it either, Councilor Labarge. That other people have used that link from the meeting, and you pulled up the agenda for finance, correct?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And I printed it out like I always do. And I joined Zoom like I always do. Never had a problem with the meeting ID or the passcode on any of my meetings.
Yeah.
Today, yes.
Yeah.
So I don't get it.
Yeah. So we'll try moving forward like this, and we'll see how it works.
All right.
So you guys were saying?
Oh, God.
Stan, you said something about gathering information. What did you share after that?
I took bad notes, but I could wait.
And then Councilor Maori spoke.
Let's see, Storm.
Oh, we pretty well got it decided there, Joe.
You snooze, you lose.
Well, you know, it is still a public conversation, although it's kind of all over the place. So
Yeah.
anyway,
all right,
we'll give this a try, and I'm going to ask that all of us follow Councilor Maori's lead, because with the phone and with the Zoom, that, you know, so we can keep everybody talking when they should.
Okay. I would start with a question for President Nash, which would be, what was the last thing that you heard, and I could possibly try to bring you up to speed.
Well, you know what, Councilor Labarge hasn't heard any of this.
Okay.
And that, you know, I hate to go repeating stuff. What I can say is that, let me see. Here's my notes, what I had. Started with Councilor Moulton saying that basically his opinion is that anything that concerns taxpayer dollars should be considered by the Finance Committee. Meeting independently has already had a strong impact. We had the discussion of the animal control facility and the dash cams, and that has led to constructive discussions we wouldn't have had if the meeting were still in the middle of council meeting. The public has been engaged on these topics, and we've had a lot of conversation. Councilor Moulton mentioned that we should continue to have the flexibility to occasionally have finance meet in council. That he supports the mayor's proposal to increase the school budget. It was the school budget, right?
Yes.
By 4%. And as the mayor stated back at the joint meeting, I mentioned about council and listening to people to set budget priorities, an example being the DCC, and talking about, you know, what is entailed for that department to be successful. You mentioned the idea of having some sort of discussion after the mayor's joint meeting, and that would be a period of time for us to gather information and then kind of publicly, and then bring it back to the mayor, and, you know, with the hope to see those ideas reflected in our budget. So that's where I got nothing after that.
I'll just add, and those are great. I'm very impressed. This is a game of retention here, but let's see. I'll just add, did you mention Councilor Moulton's idea about, you know, as the conversation with Coca-Cola leaving, that a very concrete task we could take on is having a public forum on the water sewer rates, so that constituents, you know, residents are not, you know, caught by surprise by any hikes or anything because of the departure of Coca-Cola. That was one idea. And so the stormwater fee system, we would have but I'm pretty impressed.
Well, can I just say for Councilor Labarge, I picked up on your comments last week at the council meeting about how the stormwater fee has been a source of conversation in the community, and some frustration among some of our constituents about how that tiered system works. So I suggested that one task of the Finance Committee would be a public forum looking at how the stormwater fee system has worked over the past few years.
Well, I have to say that, and you're hearing it from people. Okay, Stan?
Yes.
And the problem is it's not equal at all. And I hear it in Ward 6, and I even hear it throughout the city. Okay, it's the tiers that's in there that's not equal, with pervious versus impervious. So I think, which the mayor does know, because I did call her office, in regards of hopefully that she will look at setting up a meeting like we had when we first started this, okay? Of selecting people to be on that committee to really, really concentrate on every ward, on the levels of the tiers that people are in, their homes are in, and their properties. And I have to agree with many people. I find it to be very unfair. Out in the rural areas like Ward 6 and Ward 7, you're looking at the highest tier that there is. And a lot of people are complaining because they don't have runoff. And another issue is that one of my residents actually called DPW, and they outright said to my resident who lives on Perkspit Road that, well, it's the city councilors, and apparently it's their fault. They're the ones that approved it, and that kind of upset me because, no, that is not the way it went. There was intensive meetings on this in order to put the stormwater fee in place. We try to get it as the same percentage like in Westfield, which was even for everybody at $60 a year. Westfield did go up now at some point, and I have talked with the director there at the Holyoke Community College when we had a big meeting on stormwater fee. And come on, we need to start looking at this. People can't keep affording these type of tiers. So either the mayor hopefully will put something in place, because Tony Patillo and I met with David Narkowitz for a lengthy time in his office a year after that stormwater fee was put in place. And the mayor said that he would definitely look into opening up another committee of seeing what we could do about the stormwater fee. It's just not equal at all.
So Councilor Labarge.
I can give a list of people, okay, who are living in 2.5 million homes in Ward 6. I can give a list in Ward 7. And our little houses around here are paying the same tier for impervious versus pervious. So that's my thoughts on this. And I also want to come forth to say that Rachel had put down the dates for May, and I want that verified on those dates again. And also, I agree, when things are extremely detrimental with the budget, that yes, it is finance's responsibility to have hearings on it. Anything that is financially suitable for the people living in the city who are taxpayers, that there should be hearing on this. And I have to say, for all the years with Phil Sullivan and everybody else with Finance Committee, we did our job. Even if we had it once a month and it was on the fourth Tuesday of the month, we handled our budgets very, very well and brought them forward to City Council. So anyways, that's my thoughts on this. So I thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Labarge. Okay, so the agenda item is scope and responsibilities of the Finance Committee. So we've covered some of that. Any other thoughts folks have on that?
I didn't catch that, Rachel.
Oh, excuse me. So I was just reiterating that the agenda item is scope and responsibilities of the Finance Committee. And anyone have any further thoughts on other parts of the scope and responsibilities of the Finance Committee?
She's 100 miles away.
Yeah, we're doing our best here, Councilor Labarge.
Yeah, I can
Maybe
hear you.
if you repeat it, President Nash, would that help?
Can I what?
Just ask if you could ask her, if you said it, she can hear you, President Nash. You could just tell her does she have any other thoughts?
Do you have any other thoughts on
scope?
scope and responsibility of the Finance Committee, Marianne?
Yeah, we have a big responsibility, a big, huge responsibility. Here we have the budget for school committee. All right, that's a biggie right now. the whole budget in general. I mean, I think, which we always have with Finance Committee for years, okay, brought in the directors, the superintendents right down the line, every department head. And I know, which I have noticed lately, is the cutting down on departments, even if it's, you know, IT or anything, you know, human resource. These are taxpayers' money paying for employees here in the city. So to me, I think every department should be looked at, no matter if it's small or not.
Okay,
It's our responsibility in finance.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, Jim, we even have the libraries too.
Mhm.
Right,
Either which way, it is our responsibility
right.
in finance to bring in the department heads and go over their budgets with them. We're going to look at them very, very carefully because you know right now what's happening in the school committee. They have, and they're under negotiations here, which we can't talk about. So, anyways, that budget's going to come to us. We're going to have hearings. There's no question about it. The mayor's going to be presenting her budget hearings. And then we get hit with our budget hearings, and that's what happened last time with the police department. The mayor was already laying off 17.2 positions. By the time it got to us city councilors, we didn't have a big choice.
Well, thank
So
you.
it's a huge responsibility in finance.
Right.
And I don't mind having 2 meetings a month during budget time. That doesn't bother me. Or anything that comes in that's very detrimental here for the taxpayers.
Mhm.
Thank you, Counselor. She might not be able to hear me.
Thank you, Rachel.
Oh,
Okay.
she did. Oh, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I'm just thinking, well, we can have a further discussion about the scope here, and I would like to, you know, before we wrap up this agenda item, I'd like to just identify any next steps, because what Councilor Labarge was saying is, you know, basically what would that look like to come up with that guidelines or priorities and submit it to the mayor. Would we want to talk to department heads? Would we want to have public input? Would we just as committee members, would we do that ourselves? So that's an interesting question. But I want to make sure we've any other questions? Yes.
President Nash has President
Yes,
Nash
thank
would
you.
like.
Thank you.
You can
Right.
call me
You know,
counsel.
another thing too is, counselors, is that when I question the mayor on the police department with their dash cams, that I asked her if for any reason that was going to be approved that night, for her to open the doors and be able to sit down and work it out with Motorola, that she come to city council. That was my request, and you heard it. For her to come to city council once she has done what she had to do for her responsibilities of letting them know what she wanted on that contract. I would like, Jim, to have her come at some point to city council or even finance committee, because it is money here, of letting us know exactly how she made out. And when she did tell us that she would present what is going to be in that contract.
Okay.
So I know for a fact right now she's probably not even in the middle of it right now.
I think that's a fair, or I don't have the floor.
No, that's okay. You did have the floor, so.
All right, I'm going to have the floor now. And that I think it's that Councilor Labarge's question is a fair question to ask. She did raise it during those deliberations. And the mayor did say that she would share the details of the contract once it was firmly negotiated. That aspect was, the parameters were in place, but the actual details of it hadn't been nailed down. So I think that's a fair thing. I think in terms of I see two things. There's the budget for this year, and we're kind of halfway down the tunnel, almost to the end. We're getting to the end of the tunnel as far as this budget is concerned. And that I think it's a good time to reflect and look at some of the things that, we probably do that a little different, and use it as a learning experience. And with the idea that, that any changes in this approach would be for next year. And the thing that I've learned is, yes, that there is that joint meeting that Councilor Moulton spoke of, but much of the budget work has already started to happen with the department heads before that. That the gathering of the information, putting together, projects, DPW is looking at the summer ahead, and they're starting to think about that as the construction season is starting to slow down in the fall, and that so that all of the departments are already thinking well ahead. And this isn't to say that the budget is set by the time the mayor is making that, having that meeting, but there's a lot of things that have already kind of been built into the budget. And the last thing I want to say, because I think the mayor, whether it was in this meeting or in a conversation with her directly, was saying that, that actually a lot of what we value is already in the budget, and that what we're, sometimes what we're going to want to see is that thing that we're concerned about, is it actually reflected in there? And, to be able to identify it and say, oh, there it is. There's our concern about, something to do with parks and recreation or the arts or whatever it is. And that in terms of our finances, there, in some ways it looks rosy right now because we have all of these, the ARPA funds, and we had a successful override a few years ago. But at the same time, things are still very tight. And so we have all of these different things going on. So
right, and that's why, Councilor Nash,
hold on.
You heard me tell the mayor and Donna at City Council, and I think this is critical because the BPW, their budget is high. It's high, and it has to be high because look what they do in this city. Like I had mentioned to Donna at City Council, it would be really great if she did, and having a screen up there and showing the equipment that us councilors saw for the public to know exactly the shape that they're in. And I think the visibility and the transparency opens the eyes of the taxpayers to see how bad that equipment is, how bad they need the money in order to operate in our city. So I think it's critical because otherwise, just like in Ward 6, when we had the budget hearing with Mayor Narkowitz, we were packed. We had people from Ward 7 there also, packed. And we had people shooting off big time. I had retired police officers in there also. And they were not happy at all. I think showing the visibility, putting it up on the screen at City Council on a budget hearing with the DPW director there, showing the equipment that needs to be bought and why that equipment costs so money. You can talk about it. That's not going to change a lot of the people's minds here in the city. You need to show them that visibility on the screen of why they're asking for that. And I think people are going to understand that, hey, here it is right there. Do you want your city to operate or not operate or be functional? That's critical here.
Okay.
When I told people about doing that site visit with DPW and seeing what I saw with my eyes, they said, really? I said, yes. It's in bad shape. People in the city, and you know that, counselors, will say, here we go again, we're spending the money. Well, let's show them why it's being spent. I'm telling you, I'm hearing it about a Prop 2.5 down the line already, and it's, we need to do our job. And no matter what, I think the departments are critical here, especially with the big dollar signs in their departments, big time. And I would like to have the libraries come in. I think the libraries are very important in this city. Let's hear from the director at the libraries and see how are they functioning. Do they need money? I think it's important to have them in there. I also think it's important for the smaller departments also.
Okay. So
Thank you, Counselor. So I'm going to suggest, President
on.
Nash had the floor, and I'm going to suggest, Counselor Labarge, when you would like to speak, could you just say the words raise hand so we know? And because President Nash is going to speak, but if you want to speak again, we'd love to hear it, and just say something like raise hand, and then I'll know that you want to speak. President Nash, would you like to continue?
yeah,
I think I caught some of it, what you said, Rachel.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can't really hear me.
yeah. So I'm thinking this format right now is not working real well for me.
Yeah. I'm
And
trying,
so-
yeah,
and that
you're
and
not able
that,
to.
yeah, that I've missed much of the meeting, and
Yeah.
that with Counselor Labarge on the phone, it almost puts me in the position of being the chair. And
Yeah.
in deference to you, Chairperson Maori, I don't want to be doing that.
Right.
So anyway, I'm thinking that maybe what we do is I'm going to make a recommendation that we take this complicated topic, which we're and just continue to have it in a meeting where we can all be present. I think that'll be helpful.
That makes sense to me. And also, Councilor Nash, I'm wondering if I could get somehow Frank or somebody to find out why I cannot get this passcode through.
We will, we're not going to solve this tonight. I'm happy to
That's
work
what
on
I
that.
mean, because I've never had that problem with the passcode.
Yeah, well, you know what? I've actually had problems getting into my own meetings at times. So, you know, this happens, Counselor, and that we will we'll work on this to figure it out.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So,
Thank you for that, President Nash. If I tend to agree, I'm really missing your, your ideas here as well, because you're busy with other things. And so I can continue this discussion, this agenda item to a next agenda, although our next agenda will be, our next meeting may be recessed in full council. So I perhaps might not do it that meeting. And so we'll, I don't want to cut anyone off if anyone has any thoughts, but maybe we should continue that and move on to the next agenda item. What were you going to say, President Nash? Or
let's have another meeting like this where we can have our conversation and not have the rest of council around. So
exactly. When would that be?
That I think is the next thing on the agenda.
I will close out this agenda item unless does Councilor Moulton, did you have any other thoughts?
No. I think that we should continue. I've put several suggestions out there. I think that there may, certainly is room for others, and that we should continue this when we're all together in a more cohesive fashion.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Councilor Moulton for getting this started, and I think it's very exciting, and I look forward to discussing it at our next independent finance meeting.
When is our meeting? It's in May.
Okay, so the next agenda item is setting the meeting schedule. So the next, so what I
Did you say something on an email. We have 2 meetings in May.
Yeah, so Councilor Labarge, Councilor Maori is framing the, I think a proposal right here. So let's listen in.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I just was trying to set 2 more meeting times. And we can, and then after, we can discuss further.
Can't hear.
So did anyone have any issues with the May 11th and May 25th? That's a Wednesday. I have flexibility with the time. I think 5:30 or 6 is better than 5, just from what I've heard from residents who sometimes like to join. But anyone thoughts on May 11th, 25th, May 25th, Wednesdays, and starting time?
Can you repeat that date again? May 11th?
Yes, so the dates that Councilor Maori gave was Wednesday, May 11th and Wednesday, May 25th.
At what time?
What time, Councilor Maori?
I'm flexible. I had suggested 5:30, but 6.
That's fine. That's fine.
6 is fine.
Now, I thought that we were doing it the week of a city council on both of the city councils, the 1st and the 3rd. I thought you were booking them for either a Tuesday or Wednesday before city council. Now we're going down the 2nd week for finance and there's no city council. And then we're going down to the 25th, correct? And there's no city council.
It's the Wednesday after the city council meetings instead of the Tuesday after city council meetings. So if anything's referred to us, we would get it before, we'd get it that Wednesday. That's why I didn't want to do Mondays, because it's possible with holidays we wouldn't have time. If something is referred to us on a Thursday, we may not have time by a Monday meeting to post it.
Now, what about on the 25th? Why couldn't we do it on a Tuesday? On the 24th?
Well, we can discuss that. Tuesdays seem to be complicated, so I thought about Wednesdays, but this is why I wanted to have this discussion.
So Wednesdays are fine for everybody, correct?
I think Wednesday would work for me.
Okay, all right. That's the main concern here.
Well, okay. I mean, if those 2 Wednesdays in
We're not
particular
going to
work
be able
for
to
you.
have a meeting.
Councilor Moulton has his hand.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, those 2 Wednesdays are fine for me. Wednesdays in general are fine for me. If that's if that's less complicated than trying to work around people who have other commitments on Tuesdays, I'm fine with Wednesday meetings. I would just hope that we would have some consistency, not just for us, but for the public. So I think it's important that we say, okay, now we're going to meet the Wednesdays after city council meetings if we have items referred to us, or we have a standalone item that we want to discuss during that meeting.
Right. Stan, you don't have to tell me about finance. There's a lot of things that will have to be discussed, and I have to say, all the other counselors that have been on finance have done an excellent job for many, many years.
Councilor Labarge, I respect greatly your experience and knowledge about all things on finance.
Councilor Moulton, I just want to be clear. So did the 5:30 start time? I'm not sure why I'm yelling at you. I got confused.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a
Councilor
problem.
Labarge to hear you.
If I do, I'll just let you know.
Okay.
Because I never know if I'm going to end up at Bay State Medical or whatever.
Okay.
And also, we just want to obviously say, Councilor Labarge, we understand if there's times you just won't be able to make it. You've given so much to the city for so many years, and we obviously understand if there's just times that this doesn't work for you. And thank you for making such a
I appreciate that, Rachel, very, very much. Believe me, and my family does.
Yeah.
But anyways, my main concern is budget hearings are coming up. And I wouldn't care if we had to do it every Wednesday during budget time, because I think it's critical to get the different departments in. And we haven't done that in quite a while.
Okay, well, I think that
I
we're
would
really,
say for the past 6 years, it's always been the same departments.
Yeah.
The mandatory ones.
I would prefer not.
The little ones come in.
Councilor Labarge, Councilor Maori is trying to reestablish being the chair.
Well, I was just going to say that I just felt it sounds like a very, very good point, and I don't want to miss it because because that's not where we're at on the agenda here. So I would ask you to bring that thought to our next meeting, and I think this format is challenging. So if we could just get a couple more meetings on the books, I think we could discuss what you were talking about, Counselor, and even look again at the meeting times if need be. So I'm not clear. Does the May 11th and May 25th date work for the counselors?
That is fine. I don't have a problem.
Councilor Labarge, it's
says
5:30.
yes.
Yeah.
Councilor Labarge
Okay.
is good with both of those dates and both of those times.
Well, have we
5:30?
5:30?
I just want to make sure.
5:30.
So we will be meeting, May 11th and May 25th at 5:30. And of course, we can revisit meeting times, but I think it'd be important to have at least two on there because as Councilor Moulton says, I think, consistency is a good thing. So why don't we, yes, I don't know who,
Go ahead, Councilor Moulton.
Moulton? Yeah.
So I just want to ask about the possibility of having financial order referred to us at the April 14th meeting that we would have to take up before the May 3rd meeting. So, I mean, there's a possibility we would need a second meeting in April.
Right. I think because the mayor will not be there, that will not happen. Was that your understanding, President Nash, that because the mayor cannot be at the April 14th council meeting, that the likelihood of a financial order being referred to us was not there, but perhaps I'm wrong.
There's always a chance that something might at the next meeting
Okay.
could be presented. So
Okay.
the question, Councilor Labarge, is at our next council meeting, there's the possibility that a financial order could come forward that might get referred and need to be addressed in April. And per my discussions with the mayor's office, I'm not anticipating such an order at this time. So I'm expecting some referrals, but I'm expecting a referral to legislative matters for an item, not to finance. So,
I mean, I have.
If it does happen, Jim, if it does happen on the 14th, we could also bring it on the 20th, correct?
We would need to schedule a special council, finance meeting, which is no big deal.
Right. Well,
I'm available on the 20th.
I just want to say, on that 4th, I have my own appointment coming up at 4 o'clock with my hearing doctor from Bay State Medical. So I will not be able to do it at 5:30. I could do it at 6.
For which date are you referring to?
April 20th, just in case if we do it on that Wednesday.
Okay.
That's if something comes in on the 14th of a finance.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to intervene here and say we will figure that out should that possibility occur. And that I think what we've agreed is we know we have a have meeting at council on the 14th. That agenda is set. We are going to go for finance meetings on Wednesday, May 11th at 5:30 and Wednesday, May 25th at 5:30. And I think I think it's best if we bring the remainder of this discussion to the meeting on the 11th when we can all be in the same room and see each other and interact in a more effective way.
Yes, I agree. And I thank everybody. And like I said, I'm sorry about this. I've never had this problem
We understand,
before.
Marianne.
This is something new.
Yeah. I think we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish tonight.
Oh, I do too. Plus, I think next time I'd like to talk about the months of July and August, because usually we don't have a meeting, and you know that. We have either something off in July for counselors or in August. People go on vacation.
Yeah. So
I will put on the next standalone agenda for that 11th. I will put meeting schedule again, and I will put the scope and
Sounds like a plan. And
responsibilities.
if there's an emergency, we'll just have to do what we have to do.
that's right. We will figure it out, Counselor
Yeah.
LaBarge. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And so that was, the other agenda items, financial orders, new business. I think unless anyone has any objection, I think that we're pretty much done here because of the limitations of our
Yep.
communication.
I'd like
Yes,
to
I
see-
moved,
And
I
on
moved
the
to,
agenda, I think what I would like, because the mayor is going to be presenting her budget, just like David Narkowitz did, where he went through all the wards and stuff like that, but we're doing Zooming. Once it comes to us, I know for a fact we will be having our own budget hearings. All the counselors will be involved in it. And there'll probably be some that will have to be pulled out and come to finance committee, the way we're setting this up, on having hearings for the residents here of the city of Northampton.
Yeah, okay. So we will talk about this on the
May 11th.
And
Yep.
also Counselor Maori is available to all three of us to speak to her about the agenda. And Stan, you had a motion?
yeah, I was gonna move that we adjourn.
I'll second that. All right, Counselor LaBarge, would you
Right.
like to second?
I will second that. But Rachel, call me at some point because I want to talk to you.
Okay,
Okay,
you got it.
Thank you,
All right.
Counselor.
so we have a motion to adjourn and
Yes,
let me
roll.
see.
If President Nash would take the roll,
Yes.
that would be great. We had a second. Yep.
Counselor LaBarge,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes?
Counselor Nash, yes, and Counselor Maori.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Madam Chair, you are adjourned.
Okay, thank you all for being here.